imagine the British pound is being replaced by the euro tomorrow?
This network would also be involved in the October surprise.
We really can't understand that unless we understand the so-called October surprise in the 1980 election, which was, I think, unquestionably Republicans, including William Casey, who later became Reagan's head of the CIA, negotiated with the Iranians for him not to release the hostages which were being held in Iran to Carter, but to wait until Carter was defeated and the Republicans were in. That is what actually happened, that the hostages were only released on the day that Carter left office and Reagan came in.
Unbelievably, this same network would even be linked to the BCCI banking scandal by journalist Danny Casolaro.
Casolaro was probing a conspiracy he called the Octopus, which involved the Iranian hostage crisis, the Iran-Contra affair, with, believe it or not, all funds channeled through BCCI, the international bank charged with everything from money laundering to fraud.
BCCI, it's a shadowy international bank linked to terrorists, drug runners, and dictators.
Little was known about BCCI until 6 of its top officers were arrested in Tampa in October of 1988 on charges of laundering drug money for Colombian cocaine bosses. The BCCI men were convicted, and the bank itself pleaded guilty. But for some reason, the bank was allowed to continue to operate all over the world.
There are indications that some of the reluctance to prosecute this bank stemmed from the favors it did. For intelligence services everywhere. Too many secrets of too many countries, too many prominent people, too many hands-on, and that makes it desirable that this entire affair be forgotten.
It began to become clear that the global traffic of drugs were funding violent dictators, rigging elections, supporting the arms trade, and enforcing the assassination of anyone who got in the way.
Look around. What do you see? I see inequality, injustice, the rich getting richer. But freedom still exists. The Corporate Rights Act won't be imposed for another 50 years. We're free to tell people what's being done to them and by who, and there's no one to arrest or execute us. Hell, even the president gets on TV and tells corporations they're rich to suck eggs.
Listen, while you're here, I highly recommend a visit to the Empire State Building before you or one of your sand monkey cousins takes it down.
Why are you guys so anti-dictators? Imagine if America was a dictatorship. You could let 1% of the people have all the nation's wealth. You could help your rich friends get richer by cutting their taxes and bailing them out when they gamble and lose. You could ignore the needs of the poor for healthcare and education. Your media would appear free, but would secretly be controlled by one person and his family. You could wiretap phones. You could torture foreign prisoners. You could have rigged elections. You could lie about why you go to war. You could fill your prisons with one particular racial group, and no one would complain. You could use the media to scare the people into supporting policies that are against their interests.
Who are you, Osama bin Laden's best friend?
No, he is not my best friend. Although he has been staying in my guest house ever since they shot his double last year.
The problem is the monopoly game, which is controlled by the Federal Reserve, the private bank, which is actually controlled out of London, is manipulating all the dollars to put them out, put more and more people into debt. So the illusion of equity they have in real estate is coming apart. The players that are analyzing everything are expecting massive foreclosures next year in the beginning of what we call the recession it's going to be worse than 29. Look, your house that you're living in, you think you own it. You don't.
Right.
You have contractual right to transfer the airspace, subject to you paying taxes to the state.
Right.
For the Global 2000 discussions that we had, the real problem that they have, as Kissinger says, is there are just too many people on the planet. And 40% of the world, 2 billion of us, exist on less than $2 a day. The summary of the Global 2000 report I put up on my website, nohopes.com, but if you look at it, it makes sense to get rid of people. So what they said, they're going to make godlike decisions on who lives and who dies. Now, obviously, some of the meetings we sat on, we were planning on using neutron bombs on the major cities, because that contains most of what they call...
You actually heard this?
I said it on the news. I was in the game big time. In fact, I was making such a mess, they decided rather than kill me, which they could, they just invited me into the inner group and asked me to be the finance chairman. And at that point, I probably would have been in, secretary of the treasury or something, whatever they wanted to do with me. And what I was doing prior to that, so, making it right, I would volunteer to become president of a company. And I go in and liquidate it. And we get rid of the expendable containers. That was my job.
Expendable containers meaning human beings?
That's right.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's
well, that
really
was a
inside
terminology.
vernacular, wasn't it?
Oh, well, that's what we used at that time. I mean, it went from there to useless eaters today, so you're happy with it, you're a human resource. So, which, all you are is part of the commodity, even in the business sense. You look at it, you have a cost. Labor, what is labor? Human resource.
Right.
When you're going to put together some kind of product. The inside of the game, when we started using neutron bombs, today they figured that biologicals are much cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
They're still planning on, the plan is to get a war started in the Middle East, and they're still planning on using a neutron bomb, or one of the bombs that they've got developed on Israel, and that's to begin World War III, which is all in the cards. And it's going to happen. They even put a monument up to this whole program. It's called the...
During recessions, I think the zombies do come out.
Pathetic humans. They're showing a Halloween episode in November.
The President invokes the Homeland Security Act and declares martial law on the West Coast and other areas of the country. Though highly contested, the Supreme Court ruling sidesteps the electoral process, disqualifying popular presidential candidates from several states.
Welcome to the East End of London, the place that has encountered the most heinous villains ever to walk the earth. But until now, London has never seen anything as monstrous as this.
He's eating a foot. It's fucking disgusting.
This is an emergency broadcast. There is a viral infection spreading fast through the capital.
People talk about zombies. You know what? Well, you know who a zombie is? Right now, a zombie is you because you don't have a shelter. The people who have shelters are the ones that are calling everybody else a zombie. So if you don't have a shelter, you're basically a zombie. That's considered you're the Walking Dead.
Well, that's why Homeland Security, I'm sure you saw this 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, is putting out ads now saying, get ready for zombie attack. And of course, that's a metaphor for all the welfare folks if society collapses, and that's what I'm really worried about.
What year is it? Quickly!
2012.
Thank goodness, there's still time to stop Dave.
Who's Dave?
Not who. What? Here in 2012, Dave's still just a TV channel. Where I come from, everything is controlled by Dave.
What? The one with Top Gear?
2012 is where it all starts to change. Buoyed by the success of brand new shows, Dave becomes self-aware, changes everyone's name to Dave, and puts its logo on the moon.
So what now?
Now we fight back. I'm enlisting you into my rebel army. What's your name, soldier?
Dave.
He's everywhere. There's more at doomsday.co.uk.